system was unveiled, but some say it's not reaching the heart of the problem. Right now, Sound Transit is dealing with a lot of riders who just refuse to pay. This means the agency is losing out on money, a lot of it. There is little to no accountability in Sound Transit's latest fare enforcement policy, and that's coming from some members of Sound Transit's board that reluctantly voted to approve it. So thanks for joining us for the News at 5. I'm David Rose.
And I'm Jamie Tompkins. Fox 13's Matt Markovich joins us from Stadium Station with those details. Matt?
Yeah, Jamie, the latest projections from Sound Transit show that it could lose a whopping $1.3 billion over the next 25 years from people who just aren't paying their fair share to take a ride. Now, the latest ORCA system, payment system, was unveiled to the press today, and it will be unveiled to the public very soon. But it also relies on people filling up those ORCA cards with money and paying for their rides.
The folks at ORCA showed off a new ticket dispenser that takes cash and credit, and a new electronic card reader that next year will be able to read your ORCA card off your phone.
So you can instantly add money here.
And a new app to manage your account. But for Sound Transit, which runs light rail, when fare enforcement, now called fare ambassadors, read your card.
But the inspection device is really only meant to see, did this customer's tap before they got on this service? And it's a yes or no question.
Somehow Sound Transit needs more information because it just adopted a fare enforcement policy that relies on how many riders are skipping paying and when. Twice is a warning. 5 times it's a $124 fine, and you could appear in court and collections for non-payment. But in reality, fare ambassadors have no way to enforce anything.
But those cheating assholes who refuse to identify themselves are let completely off the hook.
Accountability issues prompted a heated debate at a virtual meeting of the Sound Transit Board.
Infractions don't work.
I'm concerned about fare ambassador safety and retaliation.
The board adopted a policy that prevents armed transit police from enforcing fares, instead leaving it up to fare ambassadors to check the tickets and a person's ORCA card, but in reality, they can enforce very little. In one of the more controversial votes, the board gave fare ambassadors the ability to ask for a person's ID to check to see how many trips they may have skipped. But in the state of Washington, you're not required to carry ID.
It puts the fare ambassador sort of in a precarious spot to really ask for something that it doesn't seem to be enforceable.
Sound Transit staff said there's no way to force someone to show ID unless they're a police officer, and fare ambassadors are not.
And that's why we want to be clear about this deficiency. We're hopeful that we can solve it, but we haven't been able to figure it out yet.
A fare ambassador encounters a rider who's not paid their fare, and that rider gives the middle finger instead of identifying themselves, then we do essentially nothing and there's no accountability.
If we don't have a consequence at the end of the day, why does anyone pay for this system?
And that policy also includes if people identify themselves as being homeless, they just need to contact Sound Transit and then they'll get free rides. Now, some suggest Sound Transit should bring back the turnstiles like they have in the Newark subway, but they still have a little time to start figuring some stuff out. These new policies won't take effect until September 17th.
I never saw any turnstiles. I know, New York does it with their subways, but this ain't really much like subway. It's called light rail.